Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Train to Busan. Really, I'm having this debate in my head whether or not that this Train to Busan is probably the best zombie movie, or it could quite possibly be Dawn of the Dead 2004. There's kind of like a debate going on in my head. I feel like both of these are good in their own right. Like, I feel that this movie has a lot more zombie things going on with it, and I think that this movie also does a ton of things creatively with zombies that Dawn of the Dead does not do. Uh, I think this film, uh, which you can see this film on Tubi right now, Tubi. It's a free movie and show app that you can dare in fact watch a number of things for absolutely free. You can actually watch this movie undubbed because you will have to, because that's the way it just presents itself. Really, I also know that this movie does have a sequel out called Peninsula, and I think you can only find that in dubbed right now. I also know that there is an animated version of this story, and I think it's called Seoul Station, Seoul Station. I could be wrong about the spelling of that, but I didn't thoroughly go and invest. Like, I also know that that also is, I guess, subtitled only. Um, Somewhere. Probably in Tubi too, as well. You can see that probably on Tubi. If you just like to see a subtitled movie, then by golly, you can go ahead and do that. Like, I think Peninsula is a little bit more difficult, and I've numerally through a lot of reviews that I've mentioned, like certain kind of apps, you can see this for the first time for free. Anyways, Train to Busan. I really like this movie. It has a lot of impressive visuals, and if anything, it just has an interesting story of especially our main character who is Sok Woo, uh Seok Woo. I'm just gonna call him Woo, because I am probably gonna butcher that name. Um, because I want to say soak and it might be souk or something else. I don't know. I don't know exactly the pronounce, so I'm going to say woo a lot. Woo! So we have this guy who is to be woo, who you could tell he's really just very disconnected with his daughter, to the point of his daughter just wanting to go and see his or see his. I said that wrong. We have a daughter who wants to see her mother on her birthday instead of her father, just because, like, really, like, I'm sure a lot of times this guy is so busy with his business that, like, he is consistently getting calls even while he is to do a thing on this train with his daughter. Like, he's getting consistent calls from his business, wondering like if like wondering because there's a lot of emergencies going on here. But anyways, we have a father that is seemingly very disconnected with his daughter, and we eventually find out in this movie. We eventually find out why. Like, really, he only cares about himself, and that's it. And eventually will find Wu, eventually go and connect with a lot of the passengers on this train, because it's either life or death. And plus, also, it's human race against these zombies. So, really, I really enjoy this movie because we have a lot of we have a lot of different cabooses or different kind of sections of this train where eventually you get to see like a variety of different things going on in certain sections. Like in one section, we have a whole entire baseball team, which I'm like, oh wow, so that's cool to incorporate this somehow in this movie. And eventually, we also have, of course, some like guys in like business slacks, and like we have like a pretty decent variety of people that are trying to manipulate and or corrupt people into doing what they want, so that way they can survive. Like it's a really interesting film to kind of break down when eventually you're starting to see like entire sections of these trains just turn into a zombie section. It's pretty cool, and I think it's like a really great zombie film. Again, Tubi. If you've never seen this movie before, you definitely need to check it out. If you love zombie films, you have not seen a zombie film until you've seen this one. So definitely check it out. I really enjoyed it. Going into this, we really have a guy that I don't know why, but I like the big guys. Like I like the big guys in every one of these movies. I really do like Sang HWA Ha Sang Ha, the kind of guy who just tapes up his forearms and just tries to like muscle his way through zombies. Like I think that is so cool. Like we have this guy that is just kind of like trying to like barrel through these zombies by just using his fists and punching through people, and I really enjoy that. Like kind of a powerhouse of a guy that is just trying to get through these zombies eventually once the zombie infection really starts to spread. It's a very interesting moment when we have Suan, who is to sit with her father Wu, and she all of a sudden is looking out the window, and there's like this early stage where this zombie just jumps into the window frame to grab somebody. And I think that's got to be the coolest opening zombie visual in this movie. Besides, quite possibly, like a zombie could have just like smashed the window in the early stages of this and tried to get at these people. But yeah, like, and eventually we start to see these people separate in this train, and that also becomes interesting when you have a family member that is at a certain part of this train and they are desperately asking for your help through their cell phones. And so like you're like, well yeah, but I don't want to go freaking over there. Like, you know how many zombies I have to go to get through to freaking be able to get to you? But it seems that we find out that these zombies have a weakness, which eventually these people will eventually exploit. So it kind of makes for a very interesting story. And it's kind of interesting how these people realize this, but nobody else has ever done something like this before. So it kind of becomes kind of interesting within this film. Plus, also, like I have seen Army of the Dead as well, but I am still feeling like that movie tries to do a zombie invasion on a gigantic scale, which that looks cool and impressive and whatever. But like eventually, once you have people that are to go into the zombie environment, yeah, like the opening of this of that movie is really impressive. But once we get past that, uh, like yeah, there is a lot of cool things going on in there. Like basically, like uh, we do have Army of the Dead that is probably really high on my list. But I just don't like the casino concept of it all, and some people might find that to be different to their like way of thinking. So to me, like Dawn of the Dead is still high up on my list, and so is this zombie movie. Because I just like the visuals, and this does zombies differently than anybody else does. So with that said, let's go into the spoilers of this movie. Let's go and crack it down. I'm probably not going to go into heavy amounts of specifics with the whole train thing because there is a lot of things going on once we start getting this event to pop off. So if you've never seen it, go ahead and check out Tubi. You'll find it there. You'll be able to watch it dubbed or maybe even not dubbed if that's what your tastes are. So go ahead and check it out there. If I've already mentioned it a billion times, so I think it's that coveted time to go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time again to spoil this movie. So, going into the very beginning of this, we are to have a seemingly farmer of sorts that is to get his car like sprayed down via this water. It seems that this officer is to pull this guy over to get his vehicle sprayed down, and this driver is to be worried about some kind of like, dude, did you like release some chemicals out again? And this guy's like, oh no, it's a completely separate problem. We're just spraying everybody down. It's fine. So we eventually have this driver who has eventually run over a deer of sorts, and he's just going about his day. So pushing on. So we eventually have Wu, who is to be at his business, and so he is to have this be his daughter's birthday. And so we have Wu who's telling his assistant, like, what are kids into lately? Like, what are they into? What are they like? And so, because this guy is so disconnected from his daughter, it's ridiculous. And so we end up having Wu who is to come home to his house and give his daughter a present. Hilariously enough, it's a present that he had given her the year before, which is a Nintendo Wii. Because really, we have Suan who is to go and point to her father that she already had gotten a Nintendo Wii from him, and she didn't even take it out of the box. She didn't even take it out of the box. She hasn't even played with it. Like, that's kind of obvious how disconnected, like, her father is from her, that, like, she hasn't even, like, done anything with this Nintendo Wii. So, we have Wu who's like, oh, crap. It's like, well, I got you something. Like, is there something else that you might be interested in? And so, we have Wu's, I think, mother who is watching over his daughter. And so we have Wu who's mentioning how like Suan and had went to some recital, and so Wu is eventually like catching the recording of it. So we push on. So we have Suan who wants to go and see her mother, to go to Busan to go and see her mother, and so we have Wu who's going to forcibly have to take time off of work to have her daughter go to Busan, and so we have Wu who goes and because I guess Suan is not old enough, but Suan is saying like, oh, I'm old enough to go on a train by myself, but not so much. So we have Wu, we have Suan go onto this train, and so we have, as soon as they get on the train, we end up having a woman like basically run onto it, and we also have a crazy man who runs into the bathroom. And when eventually one of the security guards goes and finds this crazy man, all he keeps saying is like, they're all dead, they're all dead. We bizarrely end up seeing someone who is to look at the train station to see like everybody's like circling around something. They don't understand exactly what it is. So we end up having some woman tying off her leg, I guess because she's bleeding from some portion of her leg, so she's tying it off. And so we eventually have some also security lady going and checking and finding this woman, and it seems like she's having a seizure. So we have this baseball team who all comes into this train, and it seems like there is one girl that is supposedly mentioning that she is going to be the cheerleader of this team for baseball. Okay, like we have it to where really this girl had went out of her way to come on the train to uh, like tell her guy that I guess she's like been seeing that like, hey, we're gonna be boyfriend girlfriend kind of thing. So just letting you know, just so you're aware. So we push on. So we have Suwon who looks out the window to see a guy lunging at another person, but she thinks nothing of it. So we eventually have Suwon who's going to the bathroom, and it seems like she's having a difficult time finding the right bathroom. We eventually have Sang, who is eventually waiting for his pregnant wife to get out of the bathroom, and so he's consistently like going like, hey, honey, are you okay? Like, I think we have Kayong, Kayong, Soyoung Kayong, Soong Kayong. I hope that's how it's pronounced. It probably isn't. So we have Kayong who is eventually getting out of the bathroom. Is like, Jesus, saying like, man, like I'm trying to go to the bathroom here. Like, I'm peeing for two. So we eventually have Soong who is going to find a bathroom at some point, and then eventually Woo is to go and try to find her eventually, especially once the zombie invasion starts to pop off. So we eventually have this security lady that is seeing this girl having a little seizure, and so we end up having this security lady who's like, excuse me, like, somebody needs medical attention. Can somebody come here? And then, so, like, she's waiting a really long time and nobody's coming. So, we have, like, this security lady that's double checking, like, hey, is anybody gonna come down? Like, this girl's dying right now. Like, we can kind of just see her she's gonna keel over right now. I'm pretty sure. I think she's having a seizure. So, we eventually have this girl's back turned, and all of a sudden, this woman dies, and then goes and grabs onto this girl's back and starts to have a little nibble. Just has a little. So, we have this girl who's getting a little through this section, and so I think it's through the baseball players section, and so they're like, oh my god, like, this is getting insane, this is outrageous. And so we start having this security lady who is now turned, and so eventually we have, like, the baseball players who are using these baseball bats, and they're starting to swing at these people, and, like, we eventually just start seeing a bunch of people just run to the front of this whole train, and, like, we eventually have Woo who is looking for his daughter, and, like, one guy is like, run! It's just like, run! And Woo is like, whatever the F is up with that guy? So we all of a sudden start seeing people get to the front of, or as front as they can with this train. And so we eventually see Woo, who is like starting to see like this huge swarm of zombies come up as we have Sang and his wife making their way up to them, like just trying to like fight off some of these zombies. And so we have Woo, who is to eventually retrieve his daughter from one of these bathrooms. And so we eventually have people that are like, dude, close that door. And Woo is like, well, yeah, I guess I should just close that door on these people that are coming in. And so we have Sang who's like, mother, you closed the door on us, you a-hole. And so we have Woo who opens the door back up for these people. And so they're like, God, you're an a-hole. And it's like, dude, like, I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, somebody told me to close the door, so I closed the door. You. That's what he should have said. So they are trying to like keep this door closed. Like, we have Sang who's like trying to like keep it closed, and so they eventually find out that it seems that the zombies immediately need to be able to see these people to be able to want them. And so we have all of a sudden them deciding to put newspaper onto the door, and so the zombies stop scratching at this door. And so they're like, well, I guess that solves that problem, because Wu realizes that these zombies cannot figure out how to open this door. Interestingly enough, but I think towards the tail end of the movie, they figure out how to do this thing called opening up a door. So we eventually have everybody seemingly on this side of the train that is not infected, and so we eventually have a Wan Suk who is to eventually go and have this security guard at his side, and so Yan Suk is to tell this conductor, it's like, dude, do not, like, I think we need to stop at the next train, like, place, because, like, we gotta get out of this train, because, like, there's a zombie infection going on in this train, and, like, and so the conductor is like, well, I was thinking that we can, like, continue on all the way to Busan, because I think it's much more, like, I think we're gonna be fine there, and, like, people are like, dude, like, I'm not gonna be here any more minutes until this whole zombie infection with this train thing is getting freaking resolved. So, Insan Yuk is like this evilish man that just like pushes like people into the way of the zombies and has them just nibble at these people. And Yan Suk is just like, dude, I'm gonna get the F out of here. Like, that's how underhanded this guy is, and a douchebaggery man that he becomes. Plus, also, he's like manipulating everybody to do what he wants, and it's garbage. So we have here. So we go out onto the next station, and so everybody starts walking off, thinking that everything is going to be peaches and cream. We have Wu, who is to evidently talk to some military that says that they will meet him at this station and protect him. And so we have Wu like going like, you know what, I think we'll be fine. Like, I think if anything, we're gonna come down here and it's all gonna be like it's all gonna be great. And so we have them go to the next stop, and so it seems that this place is entirely deserted until they actually go into the station and realize, like, within the station, there's, like, a swarm of zombies all over this place. And so we eventually have Wu, who is just interested in getting to the spot where this military force is going to be, even to the point of him not even caring about his daughter, and so Sang and his wife chime in to even try to save Wu's daughter from getting eaten from a zombie. And so we have Wu, who goes to where the military force is, and all of the military force had turned into zombies, so Wu is backpedaling and like, dude, we gotta get out of here. Let's just freaking go back into the train. So everybody is now just scrambling to get back onto the train. And so we have Sang, who is trying to seal up this door to keep these zombies out. And we eventually have everybody, after they finally take forever to lock this one door, we eventually have them run to get back onto the train while the train is starting to move, because we start having people get onto the train, but we end up having Jin Yi, who is to mention that, hey, like, my friends are still waiting for people, and we have Yang Suk. Yang Suk is like, well, no, I'm not waiting for them. Like, the longer I wait for them, the longer of a chance we have to die. So, conductor, get it a moving there, buddy. So we have them lock this door, so they're scrambling to make it to the train, and they're also kind of being followed by zombies as well. So they're pushing on. We have Sang, who's like has this shield and like this riot gear in hand, because they end up finding out on the TV that there's this giant riot going on, and they just think that it's people that are just protesting something. But eventually, we find out that the protesters are all just zombies, and so they're just attacking these riot people, and like it's just an onslaught of murder. We have Wu eventually calling his mother to just kind of have uh um like his mother telling him like her last words, because she's eventually going to turn into a zombie as well. So we end up having his mother calling Wu's wife that bitch, because we had Wu's mother who was saying to uh, to Wu as he was going before he was going to leave to the train. Well, like maybe if you go to Busan with your daughter, maybe you and your wife could work things out, and then everything will be peaches and cream. But it doesn't work out that way. So we have everybody scrambling to get back to the train, but it seems that some people are in some certain compartments. It seems that Sang's wife and Wu's daughter are in the further back of the train, and so we have them desperately calling out on phone to Sang and Wu to be like, "Hey, we're in the back of this train. We need your help." Because really, they had to get stuck into some bathroom, and they're trying to like hold up the door for these zombies to not come and get them. So we have Wu and Sang that are like, "Dude, we have to go all the way back there? That's insane." And so we have one of the baseball players who ends up going with them. I think that's Young Gook. Gook? We have these three that go on, and so Sang is telling them, "Dude, we need to get prepared. Like, I need to take off my blazer, and I need to tape up my arms, and like we need to have like some really sweet like Eye of the Tiger Rocky music here for us to get like prepared for battle, but we don't. So F it, like let's go." So we have Sang who's telling these three guys in what order that they need to be going through this train. And so we have Sang who goes first, then Wu, then the baseball player. So just in case any of the zombies like come up from behind them, but they basically have to like barrel through all of these sections to make it to their family members. So we have them just kind of barreling through. It looks freaking awesome. And then eventually they realize that they are consistently going through these tunnels. And so the zombies can't see or feel or whichever where these people are. So we eventually have them realize that they can just easily make a sound in one part of the train, and the zombies will go down one section of the train. And so they're like, "Dude, like we figured it out. We figured out their weakness." And so we have them just easily like realizing how exactly they can make their way easily through these zombies. And so we have at one point them using like sounds to like hit a bat on one side of the train and they move. We have them going and using their cell phones to have them try to get to a bulk of one side of the train and then toss a phone on the other side of the train for these zombies to go and like go for the ringtone. And so eventually the guys are forcibly to be pushed into a bathroom, because eventually they see their family members, but eventually they realize that there is no more tunnel, and so they get pushed back into a bathroom. But if anything, there's this really sweet moment where like Wu is like, "Hey, I made it back for you, daughter. Like I do give a about you." And like we have like saying who's like, yeah, like it came back for you, like, hey, we did it. So we have we have uh Yon Suk, who's basically like they figured out a perfect way to be able to seclude themselves from anybody else. And so they decide to use all these kinds of ties and everything like that to stop these people from getting in this door. And so there's also this elderly woman, and the crazy guy is with Soan and Sang's wife. So we eventually have them realize that they have to make a break for it. So we have Shang who opens the door for this other bathroom, and then they just bolt for it. And so we have Sang who is holding the door, and so now we have the baseball player guy who is going and trying to open this door, but the door is sealed. And so we have Sang who is holding this door as long as he can, and we have eventually Wu who's running back there also to just kind of like bat these things away because it seems like they're getting close to open this door. And Wu is also trying to hold this door so that way Sang like could be able to not have to use his full strength all the time so it doesn't wear him out. So we eventually have Sang who is waiting so long for this door that eventually he ends up putting his hand right where the opening of this thing is, to where one zombie who had gotten his head through pokes his way up to bite the finger or bite the hand of Sang, and so Sang is now going to have to forcibly turn into a zombie, which is freaking sad. So we eventually have them break through this door to eventually have people make it through. And basically, these people with Yan Suk are basically treating these people like they're zombies. Like they've already all been bitten. And so they're like, dude, like, get the F out of here. We don't want you here. Like, no. Like, if anything, that's what we were trying to, like, get you guys out of here. Like, we thought you guys were all going to be infected, and we didn't want you to turn and whatever against us. So we have them make it through here, and so Sang is just holding the door and just telling Wu, like, dude, go. Like, I'm going to turn anyways, plus I'm getting really tired, plus I'm getting a little hungry, and, like, not hungry for you, but hungry for something else. So, and plus the door is breaking anyways. So, Wu ends up going into another compartment, and so Sang just lets this door open because he's getting tired. And so we have Sang who's trying to stop all these zombies punching him, blocking them from making to the people. And eventually he ends up turning, but right before he turns, he ends up taking one body and like picking it up to like block more of the zombies from making their way to them. But eventually he turns, and then they just all topple over. So once these people do make it to here, we have this one old lady who is to realize that her friend had turned into a zombie. And so we eventually have these people that are all to say that every single one of Wu's people are all infected, and so they should go into a different section of this train. I'm like, dude, if they're going to go into different, like, that sounds really dumb. They're going to be the infected ones. Shouldn't they have... Shouldn't you have just booted them out of the train while it's moving? Like, yeah, just toss them out of the train and, like, fend for themselves kind of thing. Like, here's the thing that they never thought about in this movie. Why not have figured out a way to, like, shove these people from out of the train? Like, open up a door and just smack every single one of these things with a bat to push them out of the train, like, one by one or something. Like they could have maybe tried to orchestrate or figure out like a way to like slowly but surely take these zombies out of this train somehow. Um, Eventually, Young Suk asks the conductor if they could separate the train by sections, and the conductor mentions like, "Well, you can't do that." I'm like, "Well, of course you can't do that, because like you have to have these zombies in this train. It has to be a thing, and plus also like this station coincidentally doesn't have the ability to be able to do that." I'm like, dude, shouldn't it just be like two buttons, like emergency brakes and pull them off and whatever to separate? But I guess not. So pushing on. So we have Wu and his people are all shoved into this other train section because everybody's like, I hate you, move on, we hate you, we don't like you, you're infected, like, you suck. So they're taking all this like this crap, and so they get pushed onto the other section of the train. And so we end up having the old lady who is to go into the other section right where the zombies are. And so we have this old lady who is to see her friend in this door who is turning into, who is basically a zombie. But so we have Young Suk who is to see that this woman is to go and open up this door to kill all of these other people because they're just crappy people. And so Young Suk is saying, "Stop that woman!" And so she opens the entire door to kill almost everybody off, besides his security guard and Young Suk, who are in this bathroom. So we eventually get to the end of the line, and so this conductor is telling people, hey, if you're still alive, I'm going to go into this other train and hope that you all are going to meet me there. But, like, Godspeed all of you, because, like, I am just going to have this one, this one little, like, he doesn't have he doesn't have, like another section, like, it's just the train. It's not the actual, there's not a section that is tied to this train. It's just the starter part of this train. So we go along, and so we have this train that is or no, wait, blah, 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 blah. Let's gurgle back. So we have everybody's like, dude, we need to make it to Busan. Busan is safe, I think. And so we have Wu and everybody who is making it onto this other train. And so we have Yansuk and the security guard. And so Yansuk pokes his eye out to see if everything is safe. And it's not. But the security guard is asking, well, is it safe? And Yansuk is like, oh, sure, go ahead and pop your eye out there. Go ahead and just pop yourself out. And so we have the security guard walking out of there. And so Yansuk pushes the security guard into one of the zombies, and then he makes a run for it. So we have Young-suk making a run for this train, and so we have eventually Young-suk, who is to make it to this train, but he twists his ankle. And so we have the conductor who ends up going and trying to help Young-suk. And so we have Young-suk who pushes the conductor into the zombies for him to get eaten, and Yansuk goes into the train thing and starts the train off. So, here is also the evil thing. So, we end up having eventually the baseball player and his girlfriend eventually finding Yansuk through them trying to make it to the conductor. Because eventually there's an accident that happens that kind of like wedges people in having to find some alternate way to make it to this conductor's train. And so we eventually have Yansuk and the baseball player and his girlfriend all to try to make it through into this next part of the train station. And so they have a problem with this door, to where eventually this zombie goes into their door. And so we have Yansuk who pushes the baseball player's girlfriend into this zombie. And so we have the baseball player's zombie turning, but we have Yansuk who ends up crashing through this door, or this window of this door, to make it through this door to make it to the other side. And so we have this baseball player who's holding his girlfriend in his arms, knowing she's going to turn, but is like, well, like it was just him and her, like against the world kind of thing. And now that she's dead, like he has nothing to live for. So she bites him. They both turn. End of story for that guy. The saddest part is when we have the guy who is to go through the baseball players section and try to hit them with bats, but he can't because they're technically all his friends, even though they're all zombies now. Plus, I kind of skipped the fact when they were like crawling over the luggage, like the luggage. Uh, God, what is it called? The luggage hangers. Like they were eventually crawling over the luggage hangers when they were trying to make it back to the front part of this train with more extra people, and eventually it all worked. A lot of times they were like in the tunnels of things, but then eventually, like they had to make a run for it at some point, and they eventually made it. So we have this accident that happens. So Wu is kind of stuck. Wu and his daughter and Sang's wife are now trapped between two trains, but Sang ends up kind of squeaking underneath this one train. But then eventually we have the crazy guy who ends up holding up the other zombies for Wu to be able to take this train piece out for both his daughter and this woman to make it through. And so then eventually the crazy guy and all these zombies, I guess, get crushed or whichever. And so Wu and daughter and Sing's wife make a run for it because these zombies are eventually popping out of this train. So we have it to where Wu and these people are all to get to this train. And so we eventually start to see that a lot of the zombies are all of a sudden starting to, like, if they weren't like basically like filling this entire like wall of this one train, which I thought was a very interesting visual. We also have it to where bizarrely we have these zombies that once one starts to connect with the train, we have this like barrel of monkeys situation to where like every single one of these zombies all are starting to hold on to one another to connect themselves to be able to have one zombie eventually connect to eventually run up onto these people to eventually try and get on this train. We eventually have Wu who's to kick these zombies off one by one. And so eventually we have them do a pretty decent job of getting these zombies off, but it just looks like an amazing visual. So we have Wu who is to eventually go and try to get to the driving part of this train. And so we end up seeing Young Suk or Young Suk who is to get out of the train, and I guess he is turning into a zombie. I'm like, good for you, you douchebag. I hate you anyways. So we have this guy moaning and groaning about how like there's family members that that he needs to protect, and like that's all that really matters to him right now. And so we have Wu who's like, well, you do realize you're infected now, and then Suck realizes it, and so we eventually have Suck who is trying to get at these people, and so we forcibly have Wu who is trying to defend his technical family. And so we have Wu, who eventually has to try to figure out how to dump this guy off the side of the train. And so we eventually have Wu, who ends up like taking his arm and kind of bracing this guy, and then so uh, Suck ends up biting Wu, and Suck Wu. So we have Wu, who is to go and toss, eventually Suck off this train, and so we are to have Wu try as quickly as possible to tell these girls how to operate a train, and then he is to say his goodbyes to his daughter, and then go to the back of this train and to eventually leap off. He is starting to become a zombie. He's starting to have old memories about things that he did with his daughter, like I guess when she had been birthed and whatever. And so we eventually have Wu, who drops off this train. And so we eventually have these two girls who just appear nearby a military base. And so we have these military that are seeing these two girls come from some tunnel. Uh, like just them walking through some tunnel. And we have the military asking their superior, it's like, well, hey, like, we can't really confirm if these things are zombies or just normal humans or not. And so they just say, hey, kill them. But eventually the girl ends up singing, and they're like, well, wait a minute, they're normal humans, so let's like hurry the heck up. Like, where the heck did they come from? We don't know, but they're here now, so they protect him. And then so like that's the way that this movie just ends. So with that said, I am going to get out of here because I think I hoped I covered all of this. There might have some stuff that I like skipped around about because really like uh memory could have been better because I reviewed this once before, and now I'm coming back to it. I'm like, yeah, this movie is still really good. um but yeah, like the memory of it like was probably better the first time around than this time around. But with that said, I am going to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.